Hi, my name is Alex Fan, and this is why you should hire me as an intern at Antimetal, preferably engineering, but I can do BD as well. So first, why do I want to join Antimetal? I believe in the vision and I want to move the needle. And what I mean by that is I want to work on problems that move the company 5% or more every single time. And I've similarly been faced with the same problem. I try to launch an instance on AWS, I fine-tune my models, then I thought I shut down my models, and a couple months later I get bombarded with these emails of late fees. And you can see here there's 2 months of a time span just trying to resolve these problems. And I think Antimetal is doing a good thing to try and resolve that. Lastly, at a startup, I want to do permissionless work. If I find a problem, I want to solve it right away. So I won't talk about this too much as my CV is attached, but here are some qualifications I have. For engineering and product, I built many projects leveraging machine learning models. I took some courses on AI from Fast AI and Databricks, and here are some certifications as proof. In addition, I've programmed in many languages like TypeScript, Python, Go, and Rust. Although it's been a while since I programmed in Golang, I can learn pretty fast, and I work on weekends as well, just experimenting with all of these cloud infrastructure. Last time I worked with Go was in blockchain infrastructure as well, just FYI. In terms of distribution and sales, I was the first technical product management analyst intern at Alchemy, where I worked on a lot of SEO marketing and analyzing churn customers. You can see a lot of my posts are still up there today after years, and for documentation as well. Lastly, for cold calling, I've worked on a project before where I cold called over 300 US based manufacturers and directed traffic for them in exchange for selling their products wholesale, and was able to garner about 50 relationships, 50 plus relationships. And so although I made a good MRR there, I learned a lot of tough lessons, and hopefully I can carry that on to Antimetal. So finally, my Twitter X account is right there attached. A lot of my posts are hit or miss, but we still take shots. So for some possible suggestions on terms of marketing and distribution, one of them is to have more SEO optimized documentation and blog posts. I think Ramp Engineering is a good example because not only do they have a blog post for their startups in general, but they have one for Ramp Engineering as well to show what their interns learned and what they learned on making certain engineering decisions. I think PostHog is a great example as well. In terms of being able to study users, having more connecting user research is always important. During my time at Alchemy, when I did that, studying 50 churned users, it always led to improved API documentation. So be able to study that is a good idea. Third is we could have something called an Antimetal calculator. And when I was working at insurance companies at the time, we had this insurance calculator where it would show you how much you'd save by going with this certain insurance company or service. And I think it's a good idea to have something like this at Antimetal because not only is it a good mousetrap, but at the end of the day, you could also secure a lot of customers this way. And finally, having cold DMs and emails on potential customers is always a good idea. One of the customers I personally talk to is ChromaDB. Their founders are pretty interested in using Antimetal, so being able to onboard them would be a great experience for me. In terms of technical possible suggestions, we could automate workflows. An example of this is if an instance goes down, can we relaunch another instance from a different cloud provider or the same cloud provider? Or it can be something simple as if for the dropping in the Cost Explorer CSV, there's a part where you have to rename the Cost Explorer CSV to your AWS account ID automatically. If we could automate that process, that little simple fix could possibly 10x the value of the onboarding process itself. We could also expand Antimetal's offerings to support other cloud platforms like GCP, or even for cloud hosting platforms like Heroku or Netlify that just host APIs, for example, or render. Or hosting databases in general would be great too. And finally, having more onboarding assistance wouldn't hurt. I know Antimetal does a lot of onboarding because they're B2B SaaS, so I can always be a helping hand here. Some more possible suggestions. On the technical side, we could enable ways to save more on moving cloud services or transferring cloud services. There's a lot of complaints about people complaining about transitioning from AWS to other cloud providers because of their vendor lock-in, and it's just really expensive to do that. And so I provide some links to show proof on people complaining, and be able to find ways to improve on that would be really useful for customers. Another thing we could do is enhance documentation. Again, having something like GPT integration for docs is pretty simple, but it does a lot of work. I think one of your interns before did a GPT integration for AWS docs. So if you could do that for something like Terraform or Antimetal documentation itself, that would be great. And I'd be happy to build something like that. And then lastly, we could have machine learning model hosting recommendations. So for example, if you have a certain model and you want to find the best instance for that model, if we could provide the best recommendation on the best instance for that certain large language model or any other model in general, that'd be awesome for the developer. So in conclusion, I have a pretty high agency and resourceful mindset. I have a T-shaped skill set as well, and I just want to join and learn from a great team that I know is going to do great things. So this is why you should hire me as an engineering intern or BD intern at Antimetal. Thanks.